The Kia K4 GT Line Turbo is the K4 you want to look at if you're the type of person who loves power. It's got a 1.6 liter turbocharged engine, and while it's not the most powerful Kia you're going to find, if you're looking at the 2 liter, it's a night and day difference. It might actually be worth it for you to look at the GT line, because in the US, to go from the fully loaded lower trim to the GT line turbo is $3,000. Up in Canada, you're anywhere between $3,500 and $6,500, just depending on the rest of the configuration. In my opinion, $3,000 for 50% more power is absolutely worth it. But if you're on a tight budget, I can see why you wouldn't want to go that route. It's just that you do get a pretty good number of features over and above the entry-level trims when you look at the GT line turbo version of the K4. This K4 is in the Wave Blue exterior, and the blue looks fantastic when it's paired up with the GT line version of the K4. You get glossy black highlights all throughout. There's a unique portion of the side view mirrors, and then you've got 18-inch blacked out wheels. And black wheels are my thing. Just the look of them, for me, it's always something I've really loved inside of cars. So the black wheels inside of the GT line are fantastic. Now, in general, inside of the K4, it's 16-inch wheels as a default, with the option of going to 17 or 18s, just depending on which trim level of the ride that you're in. I think one thing that Kia could offer that would make the GT line pop a little bit more, painted calipers, is if you could get blue or red painted right from the factory. It just looks so nice. But the setup here, I think, is solid. Looking at the drivetrain inside of the K4, it's strictly available front-wheel drive, which is not a big deal. I'm in Canada, so even if you're in northern states or Canada like me, front-wheel drive with a good set of winners is okay. And the handling here, ooh. The handling there is pretty good. And let's do a 180 here. Oh yeah, look at that. Tight. Nice tight turning radius, back up to speed. Yeah, acceptable performance, great handling inside of this ride overall. Inside of the K4, you're going to find LED headlamps inside of the ride. And lit up at night as you walk towards the car, it does look pretty nice. Technology-wise, in the highest trim levels of this vehicle, you're going to find a forward sensing system along with a front-facing camera. So there is a full surround view monitor or 360 cam inside of this ride. And the way that Kia does it, I love it, because you can just take your finger and drag in order to move around and see what's going on all around you. Solid setup. Then looking at some design elements over and above that, you've got that Kia badge with that nice metallic highlight. There's a little metallic highlight around some glossy black throughout the grille. Lower part of the bumper has a bunch of that gloss too. Underneath the hood of the K4, there are 2 different engine choices that are available. So the default is going to be a 2 liter naturally aspirated. And then there's this 1.6 liter turbo inside of the GT line turbo. 190 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque. This car can absolutely fly. So let's get back up to highway speed. We'll use the paddle shifters while in sport mode. Go in 3, 2, and 100. So is it the most powerful car you're going to find inside of the Kia lineup? No, definitely not. But for a sub $40,000 car, I'd say the performance there is acceptable. If power is your thing, you absolutely want to look at the 1.6 liter. It has 50% more horsepower and torque in comparison to the base engine. And when you look at the price differences for an extra $3,000 in the States, $3,500 to $6,500 in Canada, I think that 50% bump in power is absolutely worth it. But if you don't care about power, the entry-level engine is more than enough to get you from A to B, especially when you put it in that sport mode. And I like the way that Kia's done it underneath the hood. You've got a tiny little turbo badge, and then easy access to the battery. If you're doing work yourself, you can change oil. And then there's also easy access to top up your wiper fluid. Then the warranty for the K4 is the exact same as other Kia vehicles. So your basic and powertrain in Canada are 5 years. Down in the States, basic is 5, with the powertrain getting bumped up to 10. You can increase your warranty at time of purchase if you really want some extra peace of mind. But I have seen Kias roll over 300,000-400,000 kilometers, but you do have to take care of them. Regularly scheduled maintenance, regular oil changes, and they absolutely can last. The side view mirrors inside of the K4 are manual folding. They've got some turn signals built in. Top of that, there's also a blind spot monitoring system. So if somebody enters the blind spot, it's going to highlight there to let you know. There's some intelligent access, so you can push there to lock the doors, push again in order to unlock. Get to that interior in a second here, but you're going to find at least heated seats inside of most trims with the option for ventilated in the GT line with a heated steering wheel. And then outside of that, the buttons here are the same. So controls for your side view mirrors, window controls with some storage down low, along with the upgraded Harman Kardon audio system. There are different speaker choices available inside of the K4. When you get into the higher trims, that Harman Kardon, beautiful. We've got this nice little highlight right above the vent there. It's a manual telescoping steering wheel, basic pedals with your regular carpeted mats. I would recommend going for the rubberized trays myself. Multi-way adjustable driver seat is here, and then you've got your leatherette seat. So there are a few different types of seats that you're going to find inside of the K4. So you're either looking at a cloth seat or this leatherette, so a faux leather seat, just depending on which trim level. And spacing, I think that's far down. A little bit more. So with the seat as far down as it's going to go, I've got, 3.5-ish, almost teetering on 4 inches of headspace. So I'm 6 feet tall. So if you're 6'3", maybe 6'4", you should be okay seeing inside of this ride. Like I said, super comfortable. It's nice. Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Kia K4 GT line. This is for the GT line specifically because there's a unique cluster screen that's available and there's also a unique infotainment. If you want to walk through in the other versions of the screens, you'll find those down in the description. But let's dive in and I'll show you everything that you need to know. First thing is that the steering wheel inside of the ride is manual telescoping. So down by your left knee, there's a release there to go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it in order to lock it back into place. Inside of the K4, you're going to find seat memory as well. So what you're going to do is get your driver's seat set up the way that you'd like to. You're going to get your side view mirror set up the way that you'd like to. And once that's all set up, you're then going to push and hold either 1 or 2. So if we just push and hold there, that's going to save it in. So where this comes into play, let's say if somebody hops into the car and starts playing around with settings, so they've adjusted your mirrors, etc., all you have to do, push, and this is going to put everything back to your default layout there. The stock along your left-hand side is going to be for your lights. So you've got your different running lamp modes that are available. You're going to be in the auto mode though, the majority of the time. And if you push away, that's going to put you into an auto headlamp mode. So what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, turns them on for you automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off again. It's just that in the auto mode, you can't permanently lock your high beams out. So if you go into the upper headlamp mode, push away, that turns your high beams on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. Like I said, auto mode the majority of the time. And then you've also got a switch here in order to toggle your fogs on or off. The car does have paddle shifters too, so a minus on the left-hand side, plus along the right-hand side. So if you wanted to drop gears in order to be able to shoot up your RPMs to pass people, you can do that. You can also push down in order to be able to drop gears to rely on engine braking, which you don't really want to do too often. So you can use your paddle shifters there, or the manual hand shifter there. So if you drop down into drive, push over, you could then move up or down in order to be able to adjust out your gears that way too. But if you've never used paddles before and you want a better explanation of when to use them, why to use them, etc., you'll find that down in the description of this video. And the buttons along the left-hand side here. So these ones are going to be for your cruise control. So you can toggle it on this way. It won't work right now because I'm parked, so you have to actively be driving. But when you turn it on, it sets it at your current speed. You could then push up or down to increase, decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. Push and hold up push and hold down in order to increase or decrease at larger increments. You can hit the brake to cancel your speed. You can hit the middle button there to cancel your speed, and then push in again to resume your previously set speed. And then there's also a distance indicator. So there are 4 unique levels. I want you to think of that like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi for how close or far you are away from that leading vehicle. I'm personally okay level 1 the majority of the time. You might want to be on 3 or 4, just depending on your comfort level. Then you've got this little feller. So if you toggle that one on, so just a button push, you've got a little steering wheel there. So if it recognizes the lane markings, what we've done is we've entered the lane follow assist mode. So if the vehicle recognizes those lane markings, it can keep you perfectly balanced in your lane without any sort of user feedback whatsoever. You technically have to keep your hands on the steering wheel though, because after a few minutes, or I should say a few seconds, it's going to let you know that you should put your hands back on the steering wheel. If you take that same button and if you push and hold it, that is going to toggle the lane keep assist system on or off. So lane follow, lane keep are different. With the lane keep assist, if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge you back into your lane. What the lane follow assist, that's the one that's not full self-driving, but damn does it get very, very close at the same time. Then inside of the infotainment system, you can also adjust one thing out with your, let's go set up here. Let's see, driving assistance, and you've got your driving convenience there with Smart Cruise. So you could adjust your distance that way. So you can use the distance button or gap adjustment this way, or adjust it this way for how close or far you are away. And then there's acceleration and reaction. So how fast or slow is the vehicle going to respond when you've got that cruise control system enabled? And it's strictly going to be the Smart Cruise Control. So there's no option for the regular cruise control inside of the K4. But if you want to see a live demonstration of this in action, you'll find that down in the description of this video. Then along the right-hand side here, so you've got your, obviously stick there for the wipers. So if you go up a single level to your intermittent level, you could then use the rocker here in order to adjust out your intermittent speed, or go to one of the crazy modes. And then you're just going to pull in towards you there in order to get that wiper fluid going. Got your plus paddle on that side, and then a series of other buttons here. So before we get to these ones, you've got your voice command prompt. So you'd be able to do things like change songs, radio stations, you can navigate using your voice, and a number of other things. If you had a phone hooked up, so Android or iPhones, you do a long button push and hold, and that is going to activate, that'll activate either your Siri or your Google Assistant. There's a volume rocker there, so you can adjust volume this way, push into mute. You can also adjust your volume this way, same idea, push in order to mute. You can answer or hang up on a phone call, and then if you've got presets set up inside of the vehicle here, so under your media, AM, FM, SiriusXM, etc. So if you have your presets set up there, you could then use the switch here in order to be able to move between all of your available preset stations. But if you push and hold that up or down, that acts as a seek button. So definitely recommend get your presets set up, but you can also adjust out and change stations using your voice that way. And then you've got 2 custom buttons there. So a mode versus your custom button. So if we go into setup for a second, and then buttons, you've got a custom button down there, but then your 2 on the steering wheel. So what does this little feller do? You can get it to do nothing, go to your basic home screen. You can turn the display off, etc. So now if we were to push that button, brings us into the home screen. And then your mode button there, what does that one do? So you go to your buttons and your mode. So this is going to be all of the available sources inside of the vehicle. So what do you listen to? Sounds of Nature, FM and SiriusXM, or any of these options. So now if you hit the mode button, it's going to jump you between all of the available sources that you've set up there. And back home again. Then down along the very bottom of the steering wheel, you've also got your drive mode selector. So you could change out between different drive modes there. Sport mode is going to change up your shift point. So rather than it shifting at 2,500 RPM, it might shift at 4,000 plus RPM. And just down by your left knee, there are a few other options here. So you can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. There's your electronic parking brake. So you're just going to pull out in order to turn the parking brake on. You're going to push and hold the brake pedal and then push in order to turn it off. And then you can also toggle your traction control system on or off. The only time you want to do that one, ideally like wintertime driving or if it's icy out, slippery, etc. So that's going to disable that traction control system in order to help out with wheel slippage. Inside of the cluster screen of the K4, the setup is pretty simple. So you've got your current fuel gauge along the very bottom, along with your current speedometer. outside temperature, whatever gear you're currently in, so park, reverse, neutral, drive. As you go into drive or reverse, depending on whether or not you've got the forward, reverse, park sensing systems, those are going to show up. You've also got your current odometer along the bottom right, your engine temperature, along with your tachometer there too. Then you've also got the flexibility of customizing this layout here. If we go to setup for a second here, you've got cluster, where you can adjust out a few different things. You can adjust the brightness, but you can also change up the theme and the style. So if you wanted it simplified, so more of like that classic look, so simple versus classic there. I'm a bigger fan of the circle. Gives you more of that classic look. And then you can also link things to your drive mode. So where this comes into play is as we move between different drive modes, you've got your different looks, one way or the other. I'm a big fan of the sport mode, so it changes out your shift points, but I like the look of the sport mode. But it also uses slightly more fuel. So if you go into your normal mode, but maybe you love the look of the sport mode, you can lock it in to any of these styles or just link it to your drive mode. But there are different modes that are available with different looks. So you can really kind of customize this. Outside of the basic customization options there aren't any other ways to customize the screen, but it's nice that you can kind of make this your own if you'd like to. And then you've got a series of different pages that are available. So as we jump through using the pad along the left-hand side there, so you could push here in order to go between a few different screens. So you've got your current trip. So that's from your last ignition cycle. So for when the vehicle is first turned on, that's how far you've gotten with your fuel economy. If you go down one level, that's your since refueling, your current reset. So you've got since last refueled, so when you're fueled up, how far have you gotten, and then your reset is your total. You can see along the bottom there, it says hit OK in order to reset. So if you just push and hold the OK button there, so your little scroll wheel, that's going to let you go into a reset option for all three options. And then you've also got your tire pressure. So as you drive, you'll be able to see your current tire pressure, and you can adjust it between PSI, KPA, or bar inside of the infotainment system. Moving through, next up is going to be your route. So if you had an active route going inside of the vehicle, it's going to show you not full mapping cluster, but you at least get some turn-by-turn directions as you go.
Guidance will start now.
So you can see there your
Turn
basics,
left
and then as you cancel the route, it just drops back into a basic compass view. This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Kia K4 GT line. It's the same size as the one in the lower trim levels, but the big difference, this one has factory navigation, and then the cluster screen has some more other unique highlights that you're not going to find in the lowest trim levels of the ride. But in this video, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know about this infotainment system. First thing to point out is that you've got your climate control settings along the left-hand part of the screen, so that's always going to be locked into place. Just underneath the screen though, you've got some tactile buttons, so you've got the dual zone climate controls there, and then you can also adjust your fan speed, having going to your windshield, face, feet, some sort of Frankenstein combination. You can adjust that by also tapping the outside there if you wanted to adjust certain things out, and then you can hit this if you wanted to jump into some additional climate control settings inside of the screen. On the main infotainment system, you can tap here in order to pull this up, or you can look at your profile settings. So very useful if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle. Changing users with 3 different options. So driver 1, driver 2, and then a basic guest profile. The guest profile has some limitations compared to the driver 1 or the driver 2 system. And then you've got your online manual. So all you're going to do, scan using your phone. QR code there is going to pull up the fully digital owner's manual. You've got your current date, which you can tap in order to be able to adjust it. Your current time, same idea, tap in order to adjust it that way. And then you've got your home screen here with a series of options. But along the very top of the screen there, you've also got this. So you can drag it down in order to come up to this quick launch tray. So you can toggle the display off, adjust the brightness, so you've got different alerts, or you can hit this in order to be able to add different options in. So maybe you're a bigger fan of having your position there for your audio. Maybe you wanted to be able to easily turn on the screen beeps, etc. Just tap done, and we've added those extra options in. So the beeping that we're getting there, so you could disable it if you'd like to. Quiet mode means it's just going to play audio through the front speakers, and then you could hide that quick launch tray. Now the icons here can actually be adjusted. So push and hold, and then you could drag it around to different screens. So if you wanted to kind of customize the layout here, you've got the flexibility of being able to do it. So just drag and drop around. Phone projection is going to be for hooking up phones. You've got voice memos and a number of things. So let's actually go through, and we'll start off on factory navigation. So using nav inside of the ride is incredibly straightforward. You can search for GPS coordinates first, so latitude first, longitude second. You can go for point of interest icons too if you like. So we just tap one of these. You've got different options that are available. Select whichever one you'd like. Let's go for one that's a bit further away. Show you why in a second. So if your phone was connected, you'd be able to dial in. You could route out. You could save the location, search for additional options. So if you tap route, let's go deactivate and no for now. There we go. So you've got 2 different route choices that were available. So if you had different ways that you could get to your end destination, you could select it from there. Once you've selected, you could start, but you can also avoid things on the route. So do you want to avoid ferries, toll roads, HOV lanes, etc.? And then you can also add in an additional stop. So maybe you also wanted to get fuel. You could easily search for an address that way. So if we were looking for gas station, let's just search for general. So if you're going multiple places, very easy setting it up this way. And then you could also drag and drop in order to adjust. You can easily start your guidance this way too.
Guidance will start now.
And then with
turn slight right and then turn left.
So you've got your route actively going with your little split screen there. You can minimize that look if you'd like to. On top of that, look at your details. If there are rest areas, you can go to a more simplified view or expand it, minimize as necessary. Then back here, you could hit X in order to be able to cancel your route out completely. You can change up your heading view this way, so if you prefer different views, so more of like a 3D view.
Guidance is at this volume.
You can adjust your guidance, so maybe you want no alerts whatsoever, or maybe you want your alerts, but you don't want the person talking to you. So you could adjust these out if you'd like.
Will be at this volume.
Navigation priority, if you've got your audio cranked and there's an upcoming turn, it's going to lower your volume for you to hear what's going on. You've got different auto zoom modes. You can auto scale as necessary too. You can go back home, tap here in order to look at your traffic information, traffic, save locations, and then a boatload of navigation settings. You can show your vehicle speed on the map with traffic information. You can show different things, point of interest icons on the map. So all of them, just gas stations, etc. So you could kind of customize this a bit more. See, for your route options, do you want to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries? Nothing overly exciting there. Alerts, same thing. Map mode, do you want to be in North 2D, 2D, or 3D map options there? You can change out the font size, so if you want it larger or smaller. What look are you a fan of? If you want more of a detailed view, you've got your clean light. Clean classic is going to give you more details in the map, but you can lock it out either way. Do you want it to auto scale, so zoom in and out as you get closer to an upcoming turn? And then you've got different things. So do you want it to save previous destinations? If you go to the same place multiple times, it can give you a recommendation and when you hop into the vehicle. Do you want to display your previous destinations on the map screen and your online manual? Then you've got your GPS information. So if you're going somewhere and you've got lost or your vehicle breaks down, etc., you can give somebody your GPS coordinates. And then auto recenter map. So if you start swiping around as you go, it's going to bring it right back onto you. But you can see here, so as I'm dragging around, it's kind of giving us an end destination there. So if you know roughly where you need to travel to, you can just do a drag and drop and then just tap route or save it as another location or tap this in order to bring it back onto yourself. Now you've got full pinch to zoom capabilities here. It's just that as you start moving, that's when you have to adhere to bring it back onto you. And then under the screen, if you're off the maps, you can tap map in order to hop back into your maps. There's search and then a few other things that I'll point out as we dive in deeper. But that's using navigation with the exception of adding in a home or a work address. And one of the benefits there is that if you've got these set up, you could hit the voice command prompt on the steering wheel and you'd be able to say, go home, go to work, etc. And it's going to navigate to whatever addresses you have saved there. And next up is going to be media. So media, you've got that option there. Tapping here brings you up to your media. Tapping again brings you up to all of your available media choices. You can search for different options there, but you've got Sounds of Nature, AM, FM, SiriusXM, USB stick with MP3s or other audio formats on there would also be able to play. You can tap there to get to radio or to Bluetooth audio, USB, Sounds of Nature, etc. All of your available favorites. So if we just start fresh for a second here, you can see all of your little star icons next to all of these different stations. So you could easily tap in order to save in any of your presets this way. So let's just go through and cycle through a few of these. I'll show you why in a second here. So as we save some of my favorite stations, go back to our favorites, you've got all of those stations that have been saved. Now, You push and hold and it brings you up to this screen. So you can delete certain ones if you'd like to, or you do a press and hold if you wanted to be able to readjust them. And back again. Now, if you're on AM, FM, or SiriusXM, if you tap this, it gives you some additional options. So you can scan FM, you can refresh if you're new to an area to get different stations, you can tune. It's kind of like an old school tuner this way. There's a voice command prompt. 97.7 FM.
Now listening to FM 97.7.
So you can change stations using your voice too. It's pretty straightforward there. If we go to SiriusXM, same idea. You've got all of your available SiriusXM stations versus category view. So if you're a bigger fan of listening to certain songs, station, artists, etc. If you go to channels, actually let's tap on this for a second here. You've got full SiriusXM setup. You can play pause. You could also star in that station or manually enter in a SiriusXM station that way. If you tap here, you can enter a channel number or go to some additional sound settings. So you've got different options here. Start at volume maximizer. So if you've got audio cranked, turn the vehicle off, back on again, it's going to limit the volume. So it's not going to be cranked when you hop back in. Do you want it driver focused, rear focused, center focused, or you can do a fine, balance and fade. That way if you'd like, back to center. Tone, treble mid-range bass. Something like this I found tends to work pretty well in the K4. But what I'd actually recommend is play one of your favorite songs. And while that song is playing, adjust this out until it sounds perfect for you. You might find that you like the bass cranked a little bit more, maybe the treble down a few more points, but adjust that out as necessary. You can adjust out different guidance volumes, so individual things, your beeps, alerts, and things like that for guidance specifically. There are different alerts that are available, a welcome sound when you turn the vehicle on off. See, there's noise reduction available, so useful if you are listening to AM, FM, and you're going faster, slower. Driver assistance settings are there too with a series of different options. Haptic warning's an interesting one. So if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, if you go to change lanes, somebody's in your blind spot or there's something going on, you'll get a steering wheel vibration. Almost as if you're running over rumble pavement or there's something wrong with your alignment. There's not, it's just that there's some sort of safety setting that's been triggered. But you could deselect any of these systems if you'd like to. Blind spot safety is there. Let's see, your driving safety priority on top of that. So with these different priorities, what's going to happen is if you've got the audio cranked, if something happens, it's going to lower that volume so you can hear what's going on around you. Then your connected devices, so Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, where you can adjust volumes for individual elements. But that's using audio inside of the ride. So you've got your media button there, change between modes this way, and then just change stations using your voice. Which means next up is going to be adding in a phone.
Turn Bluetooth on in your mobile device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
We're going to start off on the iPhone side of things. So you're just going to go into your Bluetooth and waiting for, there we go, K4 to show up. Pin numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my vehicle, so I'm saying no to that one. And you can stop here. So you'd be able to make phone calls and stream audio over Bluetooth. But you've also got wireless CarPlay capabilities inside the ride.
Contacts download was...
That's an unsuccessful because I selected no, but obviously if you said yes, that would work. But you've got wireless CarPlay that's available, and it is backwards compatible. You would have to use a USB-C cable though, and you're plugging yourself in on the left-hand side. You also have to make sure that you trigger so that it's for charging and for data transfer. But it's wireless, so let's go ahead and use CarPlay. Okay, and from here, if you tap home, it should be trying to connect right now. Phone projection. There we go. Connecting to CarPlay. Boom. There we go. Hop back home here. You've got your current time, connection, battery level, and then these are your last opened apps. So which map was open last, audio application, and miscellaneous in that order. You can tap here to go to a little icon view, back to your home screen there. Now, if you can't even get to this point, because let's say if CarPlay is not connecting or it's giving you some sort of problem, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough explaining some common CarPlay fixes that you can try, and hopefully it works for you in order to fix whatever's potentially going on, but you'll find that walkthrough down below. You can customize these icons if you'd like to, and the overall screen layout too. If you go into your settings now, you could turn on driving focus, but you can also adjust a few things out. So you can adjust out your wallpaper. So maybe you like a color scheme a little bit more. You'd have the flexibility of customizing that in order to make it your own. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze that are all available inside of the ride, but the downside to all of these apps is that you don't have pinch to zoom support. Zoom in and out this way. I'm a bigger fan of using Waze as I go because people are pretty good at marking off if there's construction, speed traps, and things like that, and you can mark things off yourself. So if there's construction, speed traps, etc. Let's see, you've got podcasts that are available, audiobooks, you've got Hoopla, which is a library app, Live One's a radio app, YouTube Music, and it's specifically YouTube Music, so you don't have the flexibility of watching video through this screen. If you were to tap here, you've got your little split screen or your home screen there, so you can easily swipe across to any of these screen layouts there. On the steering wheel, there's a voice command prompt, so if you tap that, that's going to pull up the assistant for the vehicle. But if you take that same button, so if we're in CarPlay, if you push and hold it, that is going to activate your Siri assistant. So short button push is the assistant for the vehicle. Long one is going to be for your phone. If you hop out of CarPlay, you can tap back into CarPlay that way, back home, and then hop back into CarPlay again. Then you can also customize the icon layout here. So if you're not a fan of that layout, what you're going to do on your phone, you're going to go into your settings, and then you're looking for General, CarPlay, find your vehicle, then you can forget it or customize. So we want to customize the layout. So maybe you're a bigger fan of using a different map application. Maybe you want your audiobooks up there. You can adjust that out. Anything with a minus next to it actually removes it from the screen. So you can easily remove and then adjust as necessary. But if you've played around with this too much and you don't like what you've done, on your phone, top right side, you can reset in order to bring you back to that factory default layout. If you hop back home, go into your setup, device connections, you've got the iPhone that's been connected. You can disconnect from CarPlay if you want to just hook back up over Bluetooth for either phone calls, for audio, or for both. And then that gives you a series of other options, including previously connected phones and things like that. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside the K4 GT line. Setting up Android devices inside of the K4 is a straightforward process. If you weren't on this setup screen, if you tap back home, if you didn't have a phone connected, you could just tap. Otherwise, go to your setup, device connections, and then you're on this screen, so you're just going to add new.
Turn Bluetooth on in your mobile device in order to search.
On your device, you're looking for K4.
Select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
Perfect, so we're going to go ahead and connect through here. Do you want to allow your contacts and favorites to sync up? I'm going to say skip to that one and skip to messages because this is not my car. So it should take a second here to connect, and done. There we go. Oh, that's weird. Oh, all right. So it looked like it gave us a weird message there, but it did end up connecting at the end of the day. So you can stop here, you can hit no, and then you're at least connected over Bluetooth for phone calls and for audio. But you've got wireless support, backwards compatible to USB Type-C, using the port along the left-hand side. But let's go ahead and enable wireless. May as well, and it'll take a second. Look at that. Launches right in on your phone. All you have to do is hit continue there. And look at that. 3, 2, we are fully connected inside of Android Auto. So you've got your Google Maps search there with some audio along the side, your current connection, battery level, and your current time with a few miscellaneous apps. You can go full screen here by just tapping there. Full pinch to zoom support there as you go. And then you've got the option of adding things in, zooming in and out. You could hit here in order to launch into your assistant, or long push and hold the button on the steering wheel, so the voice command prompt, in order to activate your assistant that way. And then you've got all of your icon views there, so you can go back to this view, full screen, split, icon view, and then Waze. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android device and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a fix on how you can make that happen. And then you can customize the icon layout here too if you'd like. So what you're going to do on your phone is search for Android Auto, go into your Android Auto settings. Now you've got so many different options, but we're looking for customize launcher. So customize, and then you can see your current layout. So if you wanted a different map application along the top, you can adjust these things out just by doing a drag and drop. Anything with a check mark next to it, you can remove it from the screen if you'd like to, but it's not dynamic, so it's not just going to auto update. What you have to do, go to your setup, device connections. You're just going to disconnect from Android Auto, reconnect to Android Auto, and when we launch back in, to your icons, the changes that we made have come into effect. So it's easy enough being able to adjust these out. If you go into your setup again, device connections, we've got both phones that have been connected. You can either be hooked up to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both of them simultaneously, but you can have multiple phones connected for Bluetooth. So if you want one phone connected for phone calls, one for media, you can do that. You can also drag here to see who gets connection priority. So if there are multiple phones in the vehicle, who's it going to try to connect to first? You can then delete devices by hitting delete, mark, delete, and yes. And look at that. Fully disconnected, and it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of this ride. Now, Bluetooth prompts gives you a few basic things. You've got some Bluetooth info where you can change your vehicle name. So if you don't want it to be K4, you want it to be Bob's Ride, Sally's Ride, etc., you can change it out from there. And then you've got your projection options for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Hopping back home, this is now phone projection because we're not hooked up for CarPlay or Android Auto. You've got voice memos that you can save directly to the vehicle. So you've got your basic weather, there's valet mode, vehicle diagnostics, things like that. So some things do require the Kia Connect app in order to see. There's service information, HD radio data, so some radio stations do broadcast digitally, but you can also look at some basic information there. And then your fully digital owner's manual, which means that next up is going to be set up with all of your available options. Now, one nice thing is if you know the setting that you're searching for, you can easily start typing in and it's going to let you know where that setting's available, so it'll just jump you in. But back from your basic settings screen there, you've got all of these options. So if we start off with vehicle, you've got all of your icons here, but as we dive into it, it's going to give you either an icon or a list view. And then you've got a series of sub options that are available. So we start off with driving convenience. You've got your cruise control option. You've got highway drive assist with lane change assist too. So this is the big one here. So when you're on highways, interstates, you're going to get a little icon right there, and it's going to look like essentially 2 lanes with arrows pointing outside. So what that means is that you can hit the turnstile to go left or right. It's going to check to see if there's anybody in the lane next to you and then automatically change lanes for you. You do technically have to keep your hands on the steering wheel, but it's a great system to use. And then you can also have the vehicle change speeds automatically for you just based off of your GPS location. So it can slow you down, speed you up as necessary. Let's see, driving safety. So a lot of different safety systems that are available, which you can disable. You've got your forward safety, so it's potentially going to brake for you if it senses a potential collision. If you're pulling it out of a space, somebody's coming perpendicular, it can let you know of a potential collision. There's your blind spot view monitor that's available here. So when you hit your turnstile to go left or right, it utilizes the side-mounted cameras to show you what's going on inside of your blind spot. And your blind spot safety, so if somebody enters the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight there to let you know. Driver attention warning. So if you've come down to a complete stop and the car in front of you starts driving and you haven't started moving, it's going to let you know that you should start driving. And then inattentive driver warning. So if you start to veer over without signaling, you're nodding off, etc., it can let you know that you should probably take a break. You've got your speed limit warning, so you can toggle it off there if you'd like to inside of the cluster, but you've got your warning with an assist. And then you've got your speed limit offset. So where this comes into play, let's say if you've got the speed set at 50 and it goes from 50 down to 40, you can take the button here and you can drop down to decrease your speed. If it goes from 40 up to 50, you can push up and it's going to increase your speed automatically. I'm just not a fan of that one. And you've got some other ones. So you've got some different audio volumes that are available for different things. And your parking safety. So your surround view monitor and rear safety with rear cross traffic. So if you are in reverse and there's somebody coming from either side, it can let you know. You've got your guidelines that are available there too. But your parking safety, actually, let's pull up that 360 cam again. So you've got your full 360 view. I mean, that just looks great. That's nice. And then you've got different camera settings that are available there too. So your different guidelines. So we go back into reverse. Do you want your guidelines there? Yay, nay. And then display options. Do you want to adjust the brightness, the contrast levels, etc.? I think that is it for driver assistance. Climate settings, recirculate air, defog, defrost, etc. I just recommend keeping those ones at a default as on. Seating easy access. So with power driver seats, what's going to happen is you turn the vehicle off. It's actually going to back the seat up for you to be able to get in and out a little bit easier. And then if there's any sort of an adjustment made to your seat, you're going to get a little notification giving you a heads up that there's a change that's been made. You've got a series of lighting options, including ambient light, which you can adjust out the color here. So if you wanted something completely unique to you, you'd have that flexibility. But you've also got the option for being able to link it to your drive mode. So as you move between your normal versus sport mode, it's going to change up the color scheme inside. And that red drive mode at night looks great. You can adjust that out there. Different options for your lights. So your turn signal, do you just want a single or 3, 5, or 7 flashes? Your headlight delay, do you want your lamps to stay on for 15 seconds when you go to lock the vehicle? There's some options for doors. So when do you want the doors to automatically lock or unlock? 2 press unlock, so you can unlock twice on the fob in order for all doors to open up. There's a smart trunk, which is proximity sensor trunk. And then you can also use the key fob to open up your windows. So let's hop outside and I'll show you how a few of these things work. In order to remote start, what you're going to do is push the lock button once and then push and hold that circle button within a few seconds. So you're just going to lock, push and hold. See there, we're started up. In order to cancel the remote start, push and hold that circle button in order to cancel. Then you've got a few different things that you can do. So getting into the trunk, you can push and hold the button there to do it. There's a button on the lift gate, but there's also the smart trunk feature. So as long as it's enabled, you have to get a few feet away from the vehicle for a few seconds, and then walking it towards the back end, it's proximity censored. So if the key fob's in your pocket, can't get access to it, just walk to the back, like that. You can hit the lock button to pause it here, but smart trunk. Yeah, and then you've got your button there in order to open it up on the door. So it's got that proximity sensor up, but it is manual back down. And then there's one other key fob trick that you can do, and that's rolling some windows down. In order to do it, you push and hold the unlock button twice. So you're going to push once, push and hold on the second. So just go 1, 2, and hold. See there? First row windows, you release it in order to pause it, but if you push and hold again, that's just going to continue the process. I like that window down trick. It would be nice if you could roll them back up again, but at least down is pretty useful. Digital keys are available, so you can use your phone as a key. There's an NFC key card that's available there too. If you want to walk through and actually setting up your smartphone as a key, check down in the description of this video. Rear occupant alert is there, so if the second row doors have been opened up, you go to turn the vehicle off. You'll get a message in the cluster to check your back seats. And let's see, you can toggle your wireless charge pad off if you'd like to. So wireless charge, just down the middle there. So if you just never want to use it, on, off as necessary. And then you've got all of these options. So again, jumping into all of these options that we've gone through. So it's either a list or an icon view. There's some additional navigation settings, which we've seen the majority of these ones. So you've got different distance options, different alerts. You can change out your map color, map size, previous destinations, etc. All of your sound settings, which we've already seen, so adjusting your treble, mid-range, and bass. Device connections, if you've got phones connected to the vehicle, or changing your vehicle name. User profiles, where you can adjust things out. You can add in a password if you'd like to for your profile. Change out the name or the image if you'd like something unique. Voice recognition is there, so reduce the number of prompts. If this is toggled on, it just makes the system so much smarter. Listen to this. 94.9 FM. So it just does it. It just changes the station. If you didn't have this on, it would tell you that it's changing the station. So I just recommend keeping that system enabled. You can adjust out your screensaver there. So if you turn the screen off, you get a clock face there or nothing. And then you can adjust out the clock face that shows up. So if you wanted a digital clock, your split screen that's available there. So you've got all of your different options where you could drag and drop. Where that comes into play is when we go into our map and we go, come on, fella, there we go, up and down this way. So that's your split screen that's available inside of the display. And let's see, I think that was it there. Your display, so you can adjust the screen brightness, your camera settings for your camera there, so your different views, adjust the brightness, etc. There's a blue light filter, which you should, yeah, you can see that difference there. So useful to reduce eye strain later on at night. You can have it come on automatically based off of the brightness outside, or set it up yourself, or toggle the whole blue light filter off. There are 3 unique buttons that are available inside of the ride. So there's one just under the screen there, and then there are 2 different ones on the steering wheel. But your custom button down there, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to toggle on phone projection, go to your home screen, turn the display on, off as necessary, or go to these options? And then your volume knob down there as well. So volume power, or do you want it to act as like a zoom in or out? Back from there, you've got different options for your cluster, which we've already seen. So brightness, you can adjust there, your settings, etc. Content selection, do you want your blind spot monitor showing up? So that's the one. You hit the turn stalk. Do you want that info showing up? Yay, nay. And then a welcome sound when you first turn the vehicle on or off. Kia Connect is available there too, so there is a modem built in that gives you different options. And I did mention you've got your phone app inside of the vehicle too. There are a series of general settings. So you've got all of your different device information, basic system info, or date and time. So these things are grayed out because I'm in the auto mode. So if you wanted to manually adjust your date and time, you could. Do you prefer to be in that military time instead, so 12 versus 24-hour mode? And are you taking daylight savings time into account? You can adjust out the screen language, so English, French, Spanish, or Korean. You can adjust out the keyboard type and also your measurement units. This is one of the benefits of it being a fully digital cluster, is that as you change between either kilometers or miles, it adjusts everything out for you there. And then even with your climate. So as we adjust the climate there, do you want to be in either Celsius or Fahrenheit? And then your fuel economy units as a default for liters. So if you're in Canada, so your kilometers, your liters per 100. Your miles, you've got your US, UK, miles per gallon, etc. And then how do you want to measure your tire pressure? So PSI, KPA, or bar. Do you want your media turned off when you turn the vehicle on? So if you're cranking audio, turn off, turn back on. Is it playing, yay, nay? And do you want your media to continue playing for a few minutes when you turn the vehicle off? And then you can reset. So you can delete the profile or reset all. Reset all is going to essentially wipe the infotainment system. There is a way to do a soft reboot that I'll show you in just a second here, but you're going to have limitations inside of the guest profile. So if you're in the guest profile, you have to log into driver 1, driver 2 to reset all, but you'll be able to delete profiles either way. And then, that is everything. So next up then, if these screens ever give me a problem, so let's say Android Auto's not working, Apple CarPlay's not working, it's frozen out on you, giving you bugs or issues, you could do the full factory reset. But the downside there is it wipes away everything. So it gets rid of all of the addresses that you've saved, phones that you've set up, presets, and things like that. What you actually want to do instead, grab a paper clip. And then what you're going to do is just next to the power button there, so you've got your volume wheel, you've got this tiny little button. You're just going to take this and insert and push. Look at that. So what we're doing is we're entering a soft reboot cycle. So that should get rid of the majority of issues that you're facing. So if Android Auto's not working, Apple CarPlay's not working, or there's any sort of screen bug, it's the same thing as if you were to do a restart on your phone. So we've essentially cleared the cache there. If that doesn't work, that's when you want to jump into your setup screen and do the reset that way. If that doesn't work, then you're going to want to go into your dealer in order for them to take a look and see what's going on. But 9 times out of 10, what I just showed you there is going to get rid of any issues that you're facing. You've got a boatload of USB power points. So this one's either for charging only or for charging in data. This one's strictly for charging. You're going to find a 12-volt power point, a wireless charge pad, your push start with a hand shifter. And the hand shifter feels fantastic in the hand with that manual mode. With your auto hold setting, so if you've got that enabled, so you've got yourself in drive, take your foot off the brake, the car is not going to move. Yay, nay. There's your park sensing system. So as you get closer to obstacles, that beeping that you get as you back up, you can toggle that one on or off. And then there's also a button push in order to get to your 360 camera. From there, you've got basic cup holders. Whee! I like that because this style means that you can get larger bottles in here as necessary. From there, you've got a decent amount of space inside of this box. Where's deep? It's impressive. From there, a non-lockable glove box. Up overhead, you've got a manual dimming rear view mirror, your SOS mode, tow modes, controls for your cabin lights there too, and then a little control for your available roof. So not available in all trim levels, but I mean, it just opens things up so nicely. And then if you do a big push, so I just did a big push, so it's also going to close the shade there too. Pause it, light push. From there, your visor has a little ticket receipt holder on the inside. There's a vanity mirror there with your light up overhead, and then that little feller stretches out to block all of the sun that might be hitting your face. Visibility wise, not going to run into an issue whatsoever. Seat memory there, but I think the seat is, hold on, yeah, set up the way that I would drive. So let's hop back to that. Second row. I like this. Borrowed from the Hyundai Veloster. But you've got the option for heated outboard seats in the second row in the highest trims. Otherwise, you just got your window controls with some door storage. And space-wise, so I've got the driver's seat set up for myself, 6 feet tall. In the second row, I've got some knee space, got some foot space, and it's tight, but I've got some head space. I'd say maybe like a 1/4 of an inch of head clearance space. So there's not much by any stretch, but I can actually sit back here. So ideally, 5'11", maybe for sitting back here. Seat's actually comfortable though. It's not as comfy as the first row, but still, it's pretty nice. Getting 3 full-size adults, it's going to be a little tight because we've got this hump in the middle. Oh yeah, no dice. Yeah, so like 5'9", maybe 5'10" in the middle seat. Yeah, cushions there, but it's not the most comfortable. But if you need it, you've got all of your available tether points, or anchor points I should say, with your top tethers and behind the seats there. There's some cup holders built right in. And then you've got pockets just behind the passenger side, nothing behind the driver. Some basic vent controls with 2 USB Type-C charge ports, and then a little storage tray down there too. Up overhead, you've got a little handle, second row light controls, and then on this side, handle and a hook. The rear end of the K4 does feature LED lamps in the back, and that goes really well with the overall styling you're going to find inside of the rear end of the K4. Is it everybody's cup of tea? No, but it is fairly sharp at the same time. You're going to find this styling available in a few other Kia vehicles too, and it works. I like it. From a technology perspective, back here, you're going to find the reverse park sensing system along with the rear camera. So the rear camera is going to be there regardless. The sensors are going to depend on which trim level that you're in. And then getting into the trunk of this ride can be done so many different ways. There's a release just by the driver's side door. Just underneath the A in Kia, there's a button to the right side of the backup camera that you can push. You can use the key fob to do it, so there's a button push, but then you've also got the smart trunk feature. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, you just walk up towards the back end. There's this sweet spot that you've got to hit. You can hit the lock button to stop it, but pops the trunk open automatically. I love the proximity sensors inside of Kia vehicles. Then feature-wise back here, you're not going to find much. There's nothing off to the right side or to the left side. You've got a little storage tray you can lift up, and that's going to show you the mini spare tire along with the jack stand. So if you've ever popped a tire, punctured a tire, you can try to change it out yourself. But one of the nice things about being a Kia owner is roadside assistance. So you call an 800 number, they can help out with tire changing, fuel delivery, lockout, and a number of other things too. It's one of the added benefits of being a Kia owner. And folding down the second row seats has to be done from the trunk. There are releases for the left or the right side, so you could fold them down independently if you want to. If you can reach it from the trunk, just go back and push. And here's the thing, you might have to move the first row seats forward a little bit, just depending on how far backwards you sit. But there is a great amount of space inside of this ride. And the measurements that you're looking at, so the ones specifically behind the first row, they go from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind the little armrest between the first row seats. If the driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards or backwards, you'd gain or lose a little bit of extra space. And then the inner dimensions there, same thing, you can fit a boatload of stuff inside of this ride. filling up fuel inside of the K4 is done just along the driver's side. It is a locked cover, which is nice. So just by the driver's seat, there's a release there in order to pop it open. It is going to be a cap system too, so if you're really concerned about fuel theft, you could add in an aftermarket cover that has a key on it too. And then looking at fuel quality inside of the ride, it doesn't matter which version of the K4 that you've got. Minimum manufacturer's recommendation is just regular 87. So regular fuel is all you need to use. When you look at the fuel economy inside of the K4, the regular 2-liter engine gives you pretty good economy, but the 1.6-liter turbo has incredible economy at the same time, depending on which type of driver that you are. So I was able to get it as low for about a 60-kilometer trip, mostly highway, but a bit of stop and go traffic, down to 5.9 liters per 100. There's like 40 miles per gallon, which is wild. If I was coasting for longer, it would have dropped even more, which is a huge improvement. I think it's like 10% less fuel that it's using over what Kia is saying to expect. So if you're the type of person where you granny drive it, but you like to have some fun every now and again, you can expect some pretty good fuel economy inside of this ride. So far, I have to say that I do enjoy the K4, the GT line. I love it over the lower trim levels of the ride, and there are a few key reasons why. The power is obviously one big part of it. But hold on, let's do some en route handling here. There we go. That's a nice start. So it is a 1.6 liter turbo underneath the hood here. Get some good pickup and go. And because it's a sedan, lower to the ground, you get pretty good handling around corners and bends. And then the overall road noise inside of the ride, like the cabin's a bit noisy. It's, at the end of the day, it's a cheaper car, so it's not gonna have active noise cancellation like what you're gonna find inside of other vehicles, but with the upgraded audio system that you get inside of this one, it's gonna drown out all of that road noise that you might be worrying about. And that was everything you needed to know about the Kia K4 GT line. You can find all of the build details for this one down in the description, along with links off to Kia Canada and US. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care.